Welcome back, Don Dawson, who sent me an email when I was talking about, he saw a video where I was talking about a yen rally from that 140 level. And he had a seasonal that jived with it. Great call, Don.
Hey, how's it going there?
Good. See, I remember everyone.
Yeah, you don't
Um,
forget much.
no, just when I walk into a room and I go, what did I come in here for? But when it comes to remembering important things like my guests' positions and what they were doing, that was a great call. So, uh, what's on the docket today, and is that seasonal running out of juice to where we could see the U.S. dollar yen turn the other way?
You know, I need to go back and do a little work on that. I came in today with a little bit different idea
Okay.
on a seasonal pattern, and it's a
All
little bit
right.
more of a diversification in the sense of dealing into a futures market and how you
Okay.
can use something in the futures market to make an equity trade, like a stock, for example. And
Okay.
a pretty good company I found that is very closely correlated to the corn market. So,
Oh, wow.
a lot of people are
Yeah.
very hesitant to trade commodities. They've heard about all the risk about having 5,000 bushels of corn delivered to their door and all those kind of rumors,
Yeah.
right? But anyway, people are a little bit more timid about trading it. But when they have a stock or an equity account, they seem to be much more comfortable trading that. So I just put together
Okay.
this article that I was going to share the screen with here in a moment, and I'll show you what we were
Okay.
talking about
Because
there.
I think corn is bottom.
It's close, very, very close. I agree with you on that. I
And
wouldn't call it a
do you
bottom
think
yet, but
wheat
yeah.
has bottomed?
I think one more little dip down to retest that November or that August low, and then
Okay.
I think from there that'll be our seasonal low that we're going to put in and go up. But
Okay.
it's kind of stuck in this range, and it's just if it goes up a few dollars more or a few pennies more, I should say, in that market, there's commercials who still have unpriced corn from last year. Who
Okay.
they've still got it in silos they haven't even priced yet, so they're selling every rally that's coming out, and then
When's the
managed money
cycle
is
low due?
yeah, and so basically, and then we're down near production costs, so they're not, the price isn't going to go a whole lot lower than that, because they'll just plain won't bring any corn to the market, and then if they do that, then obviously the next slightest bit of demand will cause a rally in the market. So it's stuck in a rock and a hard place right now, but eventually, I believe after we get through, say, I don't know, probably going to be a little bit more in the mid-December in that time frame. I think we'll probably see the
Okay.
final bottom come in, and then we'll get a good little run. I think
Is
for
that
corn.
tax selling where people have to, you know, they liquidate the corn for tax reasons?
Yeah, and that's a good way for it too. And the other thing too is that yen carry trade messed up a lot of commodities as well. And
Yeah.
I know it really messed with the forex markets, but it also got into the commodity
Everything.
markets as well. Matter of fact,
Okay.
let me just pull a shared screen up here and just show you what we're referring
Okay,
to here.
Don. So it's not the ETFs because there are ETFs called
There are
corn.
ETFs, right? So this is an
Yeah.
actual stock or a company. And
Okay.
let's see here. So anyway, you should be able to see my screen now soon.
Got it.
Okay, cool. So anyway, this is bar chart, and I do write articles for them on a weekly basis, and they're kind of educational and also about what do I think a particular market might be doing as well. And anyone who's interested in reading these or keeping up with what's going on in the commodities markets based on seasonals, for example, and also the commitment of traders report. This is barchart.com. When you get onto this page here, you can go to the news tab right here. And then over here, it's got featured authors. And then I'm right down here, somewhere in this area, Don Dawson. And just click on that. And it just brings up, these are all my archived articles. These are all free. You don't have to subscribe or anything like that. And if you want to follow me, then just click on this follow this author. And then obviously it'll just send you a link out and I send my articles out once a week. But this is my
Oh,
recent one right
cool.
here about a dividend yielding, and it's had 130% return over the last 5 years for this company. And it's so closely correlated to the corn market. I mean, it sounds like it's just like where, what, why, kind of like that. Because a lot of people seriously do look at futures markets and then they look at the seasonal patterns and they think that the seasonal patterns only relate to the commodity itself. But remember, with commodities, there's all kinds of products that have to go into the commodities, like growing them or drilling them or transporting them and so on like that. So there's obviously companies involved with that. And if you can find companies that are performing well and you tie them into these seasonal patterns, boy, talk about giving you an extra edge in the market. So that's what I found
Yeah.
on this particular stock here. So for people,
And that's
and we all know,
CTVA,
I'm sorry.
CTVA,
CTVA,
CTVA.
yes, Corteva. Yeah,
Okay.
and you know as well, you've got to diversify your money. You can't like even as a forex trader or as a futures traders, that's not what we're going to make our money on the rest of our lives without diversification. You know, you put a little money in the equity market, you put a little money in the futures, you know, and so on like that. And diversification is what pays off because when one item's not or one asset's not working, the other ones are working to help kind of balance your portfolio out. So that's why I like to bring these two people just to kind of open their eyes and not sort of get the blinders on and all they do is look at one particular asset thinking this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life because it just doesn't work like that. So anyway,
Well, I
um,
don't know, Don. I have to push back. I know guys that never left the cattle pit, knew that market like the back of their hand,
yep,
and
yep.
did quite well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I will say that, but I'm saying for most of us off the floor traders, and
Okay.
it gives
All
us, you
right.
know, because, and I'm looking at longer term too as well. And those guys, they were more you know, even when they were swing trading, they were probably in it for a couple of weeks at a time. But I'm looking for things. How do you make your money grow in the long run?
Oh,
And it's
right.
kind of like in my philosophy of trading. I look at it. I want my money to work for me. I don't want to work for it. So I kind of gave up on that day trading thing where you're sitting in front of the screen, sort of being captive all day long, watching a market go up and down. So for me, it's kind of like putting on a little bit longer time frame positions allows you to go out and enjoy life and do things. And the older I get, the more I appreciate that. It's just that's how I look at it.
Well,
So
because time is your most precious currency now.
it is, and that's something we can never get back, right? So
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
sad thing is we learn that as we get older. And when we're younger, all we think about is, you know, what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes. And
You
as
know,
and
youth is really wasted on the young.
I'm sorry, what
Don't
was
you
that?
think? Youth. Youth
Yeah.
is really wasted on the young.
I think you got a good point there, Dale.
Yeah,
Yeah. And the
anyway.
sad part
So,
is I can't remember half of my youth. So that's a
yeah,
scary thing too.
it's a little foggy here too, Don. So, all right.
There we
So
go. Okay.
I'm interested. You
Okay.
have
So
my
me.
attention.
Okay, so here's a 24 December 2024 corn chart, and I just wanted to bring up if you look at this long downtrend we were in back here in the spring, all the way down to here. Look at this August low, and this is about the time when that Japanese yen that carry trade went off. Remember, it when just hit
Yeah.
the market and blindsided everybody, and all of a sudden we all the money that was used, even in the futures markets that were used for positions, a lot of margin calls came in basically, and they had to cover those positions. So it was just like this huge sort of fast short covering rally that came in, and a lot of our other markets did that. The soybeans look like this. Some of the soft commodities, the grain, I'm sorry, the livestock markets. It was amazing how many of them bottomed out right here. Whatever the trend was, it reversed. If it was in an uptrend, it reversed. It just there was a lot of money in the futures market that was based off of the carry trade. So that kind of gave
Yes.
us this big move here, and that's why it came in so early this year. It seemed like right here around the in middle of August, as opposed to
Yeah.
sometime in the October timeframe.
Yeah.
So
Harvest slow. Okay.
yeah, and that's when it typically comes in. So back here on the article, as we look in here, and as I mentioned earlier, a lot of equity traders just kind of look over, glaze over seasonality. They're going like, "There's nothing I can do with that." Excuse me, believe it or not, they can. But commodity traders are well aware of the significance and the seasonal patterns. You know, it's something I use religiously for setting up trades in. I think it's very, very important to have that as an edge in your favor. It's kind of like a tailwind to a trade.
Right.
So anyway, I did come across this one particular company, but remember in the stock market, there's a saying about sell in May and come back after Labor Day. Well, with this trade, it's basically buy in October and come back after Memorial Day. So
Oh,
it's kind of like just a flip of what that trade is. But
interesting. Okay.
anyway, these commercial entities that we're dealing with, and that's who pretty much creates a lot of these seasonal highs and lows into the market. And we're looking at a chart right here of a seasonal pattern and a company called More Research down here, certain name down in here,
Yes.
MRCI. And they're the
Uh,
ones who put these reports out. There's other vendors too, but I used More Research, very reliable. I do like using their products. But the seasonal pattern here is a 15-year look back. This black line is. And so what they've done is gone back for the last 15 years and they do this for all kinds of different futures markets. And basically, what you're looking at here is from January through December. And what you can see for 15 years is we typically peak in price somewhere around this May, June timeframe up here in the springtime. And then prices decline into the harvest season right in here. So, as we're looking at that, and part of the reason for that, it just like clockwork, because it goes into the ground every year around the same time, and it comes out of the ground every year at the same time. So it's very, very cyclical markets in the grains, corn especially. But soybeans, wheat, they're cyclical, but nowhere near as cyclical as corn is. And part of that is because U.S. is the world's largest corn producer. So we kind of have a little, and Brazil's right on our heels though. But for the most part, we are the biggest producer of corn. So our trading habits and patterns with corn tend to kind of dominate the seasonal pattern. But what's interesting is we typically peak out here in this May timeframe. And part of the reason for that is we see this sort of like this rally coming in here, and this is over in a December timeframe is where it kind of puts these seasonal lows in. And we rally off of these seasonal lows. We continue it right here in January, right on up into this year. And you notice it's kind of a choppy climb. It's nothing straight up or anything like that, but it just tends to gradually go higher. Part of that is once we get through the harvest season, there's you're still got exports that go on with corn. You have livestock feed, which is what a lot of corn is used for, ethanol production, and that kind of thing is it's consistently just taking corn out of the elevators basically and depleting supply. And if you deplete supply, that typically creates price increases, right? Because you got a demand coming in, but you're not replenishing that product until the following harvest season. Now we've got a big carryover in corn this year, which is going to slow this rise down probably a little bit this year. I just want to sort of point this seasonal pattern out that's what we normally see is the market rallies right on up until this May, June timeframe. And it's because of that supply issue being depleted. Now, once we get up here, farmers or producers of corn have already
They start
planted
to
corn.
hedge.
Yeah, and they're hedging. They start selling futures contracts or putting option strategies on up here because they're not going to take this crop out of the ground. Because see, their prices are pretty high right here, but they can't get that price yet because they just put the seed in the ground. So they know come to October, it's going to be everyone's corn's coming out of the ground at the same time, right? So there's going to be an oversupply of corn. So this is why this price drops like this historically year after year after year. And producers know this, so they start selling futures contracts. I mean, really aggressive in this May, June timeframe up here. We're doing option strategies. And then price does exactly what it's supposed to do. It does a price decline right down into our October harvest season. Once we get into the harvest season, prices tend to just start chopping around a little bit, and then we get the bounces out of it, and we start that same old thing. The grains are, pretty much in the elevators, and now it's just all about supply being dwindled down by the demand that's going to be coming in throughout the winter. And if you look at that chart that we were just looking at, the same thing happened this year. Here's your May, June timeframe, and we peaked out right up in here. And then the commercials came in and they sold it and it just dropped, just like that. But we came in a little bit earlier this year, but I still say that Japanese yen carry trade getting unwound is what started this early bounce right here. See how we're trying to come back down here and retest that low over here? I'm not quite sure we're done trying to retest this low in here. I don't know if we're quite going to break it, but 390, 395, somewhere in there, we might see that before we actually take off and go up. So anyway,
Okay.
it's just following the same seasonal pattern this year. It's very, very reliable market. So
So
again, but a lot of traders look at this and they go, "Well, I don't trade corn. I don't want to trade corn, right? I don't want to get the corn delivered to me, whatever reasons you might have, like a phobia, right?" But and I understand that. But if you did want to trade this, you could trade the futures markets, and so ZC is a symbol, and XN is a mini size contract.
yeah.
But there's also an exchange traded fund called Corn, pretty easy one to remember, and that one follows. It tracks. It's nothing like USO or anything where it's in backwardation, it gets screwed over all the time. I'm sorry, in a normal market, it gets screwed over. But it follows corn very well. And if you were an equity trader, you did want to trade the corn market. Here, you could use the equity market to do it. But basically, what the article was about, how does this translate into an opportunity for an equity trader? And
Yeah.
what this comes down to is finding out, for example, with corn, one of the biggest things you need for corn, right? And that's going to be the seed itself, right? The seed has to be planted. And that's what kind of brought me to this company called Corteva right here. And so CTVA is the symbol. And it's been around for 100 years, been out of Indiana area. I just put some blurbs in here about, what they do and what their seeds are doing. 68% of their seed sales are from corn. Okay. The other 20 are,
Indiana's 7-0 or 8-0 right
yeah.
now.
So basically they've
That's
got
a confirmation.
so this is a pretty good correlated company to corn, right? So if you're going to be planting corn, it's a pretty good chance 68% of their sales coming out, you're going to probably be buying corn seeds from this company. This is the USDA graph that was put out, and they do cotton and stuff like that. But this beige, or I'm sorry, tan looking line This is Corteva's share of corn, okay, from the
Wow.
USDA standpoint. And the same thing with soybeans, and then got their hands in cotton too. What you can see, and the other bigger company is called Bayer, like the Bayer aspirin, but they actually do
Right.
corn work as well. And they're the second largest. So you got Corteva and Bayer are two largest companies in the country doing this. But the interesting thing about Corteva is I pulled their chart up. And what I did was I went in and I put here's their chart. They just started trading, I think, back in because they did an acquisition or a merger or something, and that's why they only started to go public back in 2019, even though they've been around for 100 years. But what I did was here, these green boxes represent that winter, that winter low of October, the harvest season lows that
Yeah.
do this grind up here in corn prices up until the May timeframe. So that's what these green boxes are reflecting right here is that seasonal window. And as we look at this, we can see even though this one here was just, it ended up making a profit, but it took a little dip down in here. And so it worked out on that. And here was this, and this is for the Corteva stock, not corn itself, but for Corteva. And so you can see here, it had a really good run. And right here, a really good run. And then here in 22, it didn't work out so well. Okay, nothing's perfect. I'm not trying to make anything look perfect here, but this has got a pretty good looking, 4 out of 5 years. And this year, what's it going to do, right? And so again, right here, last year, look what it did. Boom, took off. And all this is tying in because coming into the winter time, farmers, that's when you hear them talking a lot about how many acres are they going to be planting. And then, once they determine that, they got to go, okay, I got to start buying some seed. I got to buy, if they do that rotation where they go soybean, corn, that's a natural rotation and it naturally replaces the nitrogen in the ground. But if it was soybean, I'm sorry, if corn was the higher profit margin last year and it's going to be a higher profit margin this year, they would do back-to-back corn production. But if they do that, they have to go out and buy like nitrogen to put into the soil. So you want to keep that in mind. You want to start looking at companies that produce nitrogen on years when it's back-to-back corn planting for that. And that's the year for nitrogen companies. But for this here, it doesn't matter. You're still going to need seed to plant every year,
Yes.
right? It's not like you store the seed. So that I think is what's kind of giving this company an edge. And as we look at it right now, I got a question mark here. Are we going to have a good, is this year going to be an up or is it going to be a down? Who knows? I'm not trying to predict anything, but the trend looks good on a weekly, looks good on a daily. It's just a good looking stock that's going up through there. You look at the returns of this company. I got these off of bar charts statistics, but the 1 year return is like almost 28% over three. It's been 30, almost 40%. And here's the 5 years, like, almost 131% return. So it's looking really, really good. It trades on the NASDAQ, very easy, accessible stock to get some information from. Um, and it's just that's I'm hoping this kind of opens people's eyes up a little bit about how the seasonality of a commodity, right, can tie you into some opportunities in the equity markets as well if you don't want to be trading in the physicals. And it doesn't hurt. Why not just if you like the physicals and you like the stocks, then trade them both, get a
Yeah.
little diversification somewhere else because you don't want to be just long corn everywhere just in case corn doesn't have a good year. But anyway, that's what I
Yeah.
thought I would just
Yeah.
share this week and just
No, I
talk to you
mean,
about that.
Don, you're a voice of experience and you have a lot of insight because you've worked hard at this business, doing a lot of research. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of hard work, and you plant good seed. All right. All right.
No pun intended.
No, you do. You're planting seeds every time you talk to people and you're sharing your knowledge. You're planting good seed with good intentions. So, I'm looking for you to have a bumper crop in 2025.
I'm looking for that myself. I'm hoping it's a nice green bumper crop.
Yeah, I know what color you like. All right, buddy. Anyway,
Okay.
best, you guys have to follow Don. I mean, he was long the end, and you guys know what I think of the Grange. We'll see if we get that one more low. If we do, I'll be looking at this. So follow Don. It's he like he says, he's always looking and screening different instruments and lining up his seasonals to his trades. And since he's come on the show, majority of his ideas have worked out quite well.
Thank
So
you, Bill.
follow Don, read his stuff, and then come back into the room and fill us all in with what Don is doing because fade them at your own peril. That's all I could say. And
No,
really
thank you.
appreciate you, buddy, and hope that we'll be getting back together again early next year in a brave new world.
Yeah, it's going to be a different world, isn't it? And I'll just be kind of nice because I thought the yen carry that unwinding of that yen carry back
Yeah,
in August, and now the election is right behind it. It's like the
yeah,
market's been stuck between these two, and I'm looking forward because it's been all the markets that seem to have been impacted by this stuff,
yeah,
and I just want
yeah.
some fresh air. I feel like an airplane that needs to get up above the clouds.
I'm with you. A lot of turbulence. I expect more. Let me ask you this: how long do you think it's going to be before we know who the president is?
That's a good question. I have a feeling I don't care which one wins, the other one is going to go against them this time. This
Right.
isn't going to be just the Republicans who are going to be
That
protesting. This
that's
is
what I
going to, the
mean.
Democrats will too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. How
Yeah.
long are things going to be
Well, they
tied
have
up?
till January, what, 20th. So
Yeah. All right.
I'll say January 19th, and we'll
All right.
finally
So
know who.
just like every time we have a debt ceiling problem, take it to the last minute,
Exactly.
right?
I think you're right about that.
All right, everyone, my trading warrior brother Don Dawson. Okay. Thank you, Don, for being here and sharing another very interesting idea.
Good. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope your listeners picked up a couple of tips out of this, and be happy to talk about it next time. Come on
I
board if they
I
have any more
learn
questions.
I learn every time you come.
Well,
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Every time you come here. All right.
Good.
So people are thanking you, Don. That's a wrap, everyone. Don't just count your issues, how many shares you have, or how many bushels you have. Count your blessings. Don't just count your pips. Count your blessings. See everyone tomorrow. Good hunting the rest of the day. And I think tomorrow's Halloween. So everyone put on their costume, and I'll see you in face tomorrow.
Take care.
Thanks, Don. See you guys.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Forex Analytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.